Hi, my name is Laura and I have a unicornuate uterus. I've wanted to do this video for quite some time. It's just taken me a little while to process all that's happened. I have had 5 pregnancies and sadly 4 of them resulted in a loss. So I've got my little rainbow baby from a third pregnancy. But I wanted to talk to you about my first miscarriage and diagnosis and support that's out there. So when I had that positive test for the first pregnancy, I had a mixture of emotions. I am a nurse at a fertility clinic, so I had all these little things running in the background, knowing that the early pregnancy can be unsuccessful, all the things that can go wrong. And while I'd had this positive test, I was actually undergoing the ultrasound scan course. So I had a mixture of emotions. I really wanted to enjoy a pregnancy, but I was also then anxious about how I would balance that with the uni work that was involved and the pressure from scanning. So I had an early scan and the sonographer had said to me, Laura, I'm really sorry. So what I can see is a pregnancy sac with a yolk sac, but it's measuring a week behind, and unfortunately I can't see a fetal body or a heartbeat. And it does appear to have an irregular outline. So she turned the screen round so that I could see, and from the experience that I'd got up till that point, I understood what she was seeing, what she was explaining. There was a mixture of emotions at this point. I was disappointed initially, and then there was a little bit of relief that crept in because I didn't want to have to go through the scan course and go along with the pregnancy as well. And I guess I leaned into that to make it easier on myself, to not have to deal with those raw and difficult emotions so close to Christmas time. So the sonographer also told me at that point, I think you have a didelphic uterus. And she said that I would need to have further scans to help diagnose it. And unfortunately, the ultrasound that I was having then and there is not diagnostic of this. So the gold standard in diagnosing unicornuate uterus is to have an MRI or a 3D ultrasound scan to be able to see how it links up or doesn't link up. So after the initial shock of it, I thought I need to read around what a didelphic uterus is. So it is a uterine abnormality, and there is didelphic uterus, bicornuate uterus, septate uterus, arcuate uterus, and then what I have, a unicornuate uterus. And then out of the unicornuate uterus, there's 4 subtypes. Unicornuate uterus with a rudimentary horn that is communicating, meaning that it connects up. A unicornuate uterus with a rudimentary horn that is non-communicating, which is what I have, and it has a functional endometrium. There's then a unicornuate uterus with a rudimentary horn that doesn't have a cavity lining or a functioning endometrium. And when I had the MRI to diagnose this, it took 3 weeks from the initial scan to that MRI, and then another 4 weeks after that till I actually got to see the consultant to review the scan. The initial feelings around the miscarriage were mixed. They were mixed in with all the stress of the uni work, they were mixed in with the diagnosis, and they were mixed in with a bit of relief and sadness. Like I said, I leaned into the relief and I leaned into finding out about the different types to almost ignore the pain of the loss. So a week later, after having that initial scan, that was when the bleeding that I had kicked up a notch. It was like the worst period I'd ever had, and the pain that went along with it was terrible. I couldn't find a comfortable position. I tried walking round, I tried fetal position, I tried hot water bottle, ibuprofen, paracetamol, and none of it touched it. Later, finding out that I had a rudimentary horn with a functioning cavity meant that I understood why it was so painful, because not only was the unicornuate uterus trying to push the pregnancy tissue out, but the cavity lining in the rudimentary horn had nowhere to go, so the blood that was there was then going back up the fallopian tube and into the abdominal cavity, which meant that that was also irritating the surrounding tissues. It felt like I couldn't escape that pain. I ended up going to A&E, and that was the worst thing I could have done. And when I arrived there, I was in excruciating pain. 8 hours later, I'd not seen anybody, and the pain had lessened, and I'd bled through a pad, and I just decided enough was enough and I wanted to go home. But the next day, I'd actually gone to the local EPAU, and they were able to see the pregnancy tissue that was there and sent that off for testing. So it was just really a difficult time. When I then had the consultation, the doctor told me the worst outcome that I could have imagined, and that was the unicornuate uterus. Not knowing then what I know now, knowing that my body can and did successfully carry a pregnancy to term, I realised then that it wasn't as bad as I'd made out to be, but I'd kind of made myself think, oh, it's only got that left side that's connected up. It's going to be difficult to conceive. And even the consultant had told me that because we'd been trying for just short of a year and it had just got this miscarriage now, not to leave it any longer before seeking help. Now, after that consultation, the next bleed that I had, I fell pregnant, which was the next pregnancy loss. That was my ectopic, which I will talk about in another video. But what I've found since then is some really helpful websites. So I'm based in the UK, and there is websites like Miscarriage Association, Tommy's, and they're all about researching miscarriage, offering support, different pregnancy loss and information. There is also a Unicornuate Uterus group on Facebook, which I found was full of women that also had a similar thing to me, and it was nice not to feel so alone and to hear that they had gone through similar things to me and be able to help them. There's also the Worst Girl Gang Ever podcast, which I've only just recently found, and they helped me to put a lot of my thoughts and feelings into words and help to lay them out. So I'd highly recommend you listen to their podcast or go to the website, which is full of resources. If you want to listen to my story further on, you can click on the next video.